Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Survivor 49 for Survivor Global. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here in person. If the tech is bad, it is my husband's Peter's fault. If it's good, then it's also his fault. We've been testing our usual Gussing around setup to do our first ever in-person Survivor recap, first ever Survivor content in this format. If you're not watching the video, then hopefully it just sounds normal. And if you are, thank you for being here because it's been a lot of effort. And to usher in that era of, well, I guess there's one podcast that we're doing in person. I have not the reigning champion. It depends who you ask. If you ask maybe Jeremy Collins, the reigning champion of Australian Survivor, the only person who's ever stolen an idol with knowledge is power, which is convenient. It's my great friend Myles. Myles, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm only here because I was promised that I'd get to play Grand Archive with Peter afterwards.
Yes, if there's time now with all the testing.
Yeah, but I'm really excited.
Well, there'll be time. Peter will make time.
Yeah, I think whereas I was very down on this season earlier on, I think we're actually at a really good place at the moment, and I think there's a lot to talk about, and I'm actually really enjoyed the last couple of episodes.
Okay, I'm glad you're bringing in that good energy because I showed you, I have my notes printed in person, old school style, highlighted. Probably I had to find a highlighter because I'm here on the couch, and I showed you the first two highlighted words, which are actually painful.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that. This episode was weird. I think the editing was a bit weird, and definitely the boot was a little bit predictable, especially with the broader context of the editing of the season. But I do still think that it was an interesting episode, and there was a lot going on, and there's a lot to talk about as far as the strategicness of it all.
True. I think for me, the reason it's painful is because it's like Rizzo, Savannah, Soph, that like Uli minority are crushing it. And I think that at a point you maybe go from just like impressed with them to just like tearing your hair out at like people making, I think, indefensible positions. Taryn defended some of it last week. We'll get into last week and this week, the decisions that Sage and Joanna are making in, to be fair, a power position that they found themselves in. They have agency to make these choices, which we can then come in and criticize. And at a point, I'm just screaming into the abyss because I'm like, what are you doing? In what universe is Alex a better target than, honestly, yes, Rizzo and his idol, we'll talk about whether that was possible, but like anyone from what has become an Uli 4. Like, you know you're going into 8. It's quite simple math. You know that Sophie's with this group because they're saying Sophie's voting for Alex. She's at the reward being, I think, too open. Like, tribal lines are gone. I'm so offended at how Hina have treated me. You know you're going into 8, 4-4. They don't know about the extra vote, okay? They know there's an idol. They know Savannah had something that Sage said last week could be more. But they know they're going into a 4-4. Like, where is that power and how is Alex more of a threat to it? So I'm just like, I'm screaming into the abyss. I think.
You're right in that it's a very, very silly decision, but I don't think that necessarily makes it a bad episode. I think it's really entertaining watching Jawan and Sage blow up their game. yeah. But I think it's fun, and I think like Rizzo and Savannah and Soph are playing really well. Also, I disagree with your thing that it's a 4-4. At least that Jawan and Sage are seeing it as a 4-4. Because I think that because I think it's totally reasonable for them to see Soph as more of a floating middle as well. And we know as well because in the last episode, Sage was the one who told Soph that she was potentially in trouble, that MC had flipped on her. And so they're probably seeing Soph as someone that they can work with, at least as like an open free agent, or maybe even someone to play the middle with them to help them flip back and forth.
Even if that's the case, then they're relying on, firstly, we mean Sophie.
Sophie, yes. Sorry.
I don't blame
Yellow
you.
Sophie.
Yes. But then they're relying on Sophie to come back with them to be with Christina and Steven, who she's most offended by next time, to take out this 3 who again have trinkets that they know some of. It's dicey at absolute best. It's gone at worst. Like, and the thing is, I think we spend so much time being like, well, they don't know that like the context of the fact that Uli have the edit and they're the main characters and like they seem threatening. And now I don't think it's the edit. I think they know enough. They know most of what Rizzo knows. Like, Rizzo and Savannah don't know that Soph has knowledge is power. They don't know that there's an extra vote. They know there could be something with an advantage that was given to Savannah last episode. No one talked about how there weren't enough votes that she didn't vote, which is fine, I guess. I mean, it's something I think they should be counting, but
no, they couldn't have counted the votes because because only a certain amount are coming. They're only reading a certain amount.
No,
right?
Last week it was that they didn't read enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So but I mean,
but I don't think Jawan and Sage are counting the votes.
But it's just, to me, it's the fact that They know they're going up against a battle-hardened group who continue to best them. They probably don't see that because they see it as their agency. That's what Juwan says. We've had control this whole time. Continue to hold on to their trinkets at the very least. And have possibly pulled over Sophie. There's so much. It's either I think a terribly wrong read or an incredibly optimistic read. Yeah, and that's what it is. Like, I think that at this point they're actively reading it badly, and it's not based on what we know versus what they know.
I agree that it's like terrible gameplay, but I also don't understand why that makes it bad Survivor, because I really enjoy watching like a very
Survivor.
good. I enjoy watching a very competent and good underdog group like navigate their way through the game and take advantage of mistakes from a majority alliance. Like Sage and Juwan had the power, and they're making mistakes, and they're rightfully probably going to get punished for it. And Rizzo and Savannah are playing really well and are probably going to get rewarded for it. And I think that's really good Survivor, especially with the game as fluid as it has been, because the game's gotten actually quite fluid at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, you have a bias towards underdogs.
Yes, I definitely do.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad Survivor. I think it's certainly better than what we were getting in the pre-merge. I just think that, I mean, firstly, it's always a little bit cringe. I'm always like, I don't know, when Savannah's like, I'm a news anchor, and it's like, I'm sorry. It's just like, I'm rolling my eyes a little bit. I don't think we needed two. These are nitpicking, but like, I don't think we needed 2 immunities. We got 2 idols, 9 people. That's a lot. But I think a lot of the confessionals have been forced. I said this last week. Like, Sage, who's a great narrator, it's like that her blackhead confessional was coached. Like things like that. That I just think that there's like, it's just like a bit of a weird vibe of the overall season. I think the edit of this episode was a little weird because it wasn't believable that Alex's messiness was more threatening than what Uli are currently doing, and it came out of nowhere. But I don't think it's bad Survivor compared to what we've had. I just think that the first half of the season was so not great that this half needs to be excellent. And I thought this was a little bit of a step back from what we've had. I think just because at a point I can't be so. I am impressed with what Uli are doing and what Rizzo particularly has done, but I can't defend what Sage and Juwan have done here.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an element of that. The first half of the season was so bad that I almost didn't watch the rest of the season. I told you, like, if the merge episode is bad, I
said to you, I'm like, watch it. We'll podcast. We'll do it. And
but and definitely there's a bit of the contrast there. But I'm definitely trying to focus on the positives here. I think a lot of that stuff around it is weird. I agree with you. The edit for this episode was very strange. I don't know, the whole thing with Alex. It kind of came out of nowhere. Like, Alex is this really messy player, and he's like, he was playing the middle, I do think, and definitely that, I think that makes a bit more, that explains a bit more Juwan and Sage wanting to.
No, it doesn't.
No, I
do not know.
No, because Juwan and Sage think they're playing the middle, right? And so they see they're playing the middle.
They actually are playing the middle.
Yeah, and they see someone else also trying to play the middle.
Yeah, but...
And so they want to take out the other person trying to play the middle.
Sure.
They don't recognize the fact that the numbers are swinging towards the Ulis. But in their mind, they're taking out the other person who's trying to do what they're trying to do, right?
True.
Like, I don't think it's a good move, but it's a very understandable move.
It's not understandable, and I'll tell you why. Because Alex is trying to play the middle. Okay. There are 6 people in the game that aren't Juwan and Sage making this decision, and Alex himself. 4 of them are voting for Alex. It's not going well. Him playing the middle is not going well. I don't care if he's having conversations. We see him tell Rizzo and Savannah that that people are coming for them. It's kind of like, it all seemed really mild to me.
Yeah.
And the other thing about it is that so he's not playing the middle well because they're voting for him. And also, he's not really playing the middle at all, I feel, because he's voted with Hina this whole time. He's in with Hina. Juwan and Sage actually are playing the middle. They've voted across the aisle. Both ways they've swung, I think, badly now. They've destroyed Hina. Poor Hina, who took them in, who have been their refuge. I don't think Alex is really doing that. Like, yeah, he has conversations. I mean, even in his ex interviews, I was waiting for him to be like, you don't know how messy I was being. It's like he was having conversations with people. It's such a minor threat. I mean, Juwan says himself, in the episode, he's like, I've got bigger fish to fry than Alex. And I kind of think what happened was maybe with Savannah being immune and Rizzo feeling untouchable, Soph didn't feel like a big enough, juicy enough target compared to Alex. And I disagree because I think that Uli 4 now are becoming very, very concerning. And then I also think now if we're going to talk about it, we can kind of connect this to what they did with MC last time. But if they want Alex out, why not just go to Hina and be like, and I don't think they should want Alex out. I think they need to go to 8 with one of these 4 gone. Yeah. But if they want Alex out, why not go to Hina and say, Rizzo thinks he has the numbers. He's not going to play his idol, but also we have to vote for Rizzo because we can't split the votes. You don't have Sophie. We have all information. Here's the lay of the land. Put 5 votes on Rizzo. And if he plays the idol, then Alex goes home anyway. They're voting for Alex. So again, like I said with MC last time, why not just put some votes on Rizzo? 3 votes at that point would have been MC, Sage, and Jawan. And if he plays the idol's gone, which is great. We've actually flushed the idol. And MC goes anyway. Like that, their target anyway. Again, a target I don't agree with in MC or Alex at either case.
Yeah.
Why not take a shot at that point? Why let Uli have everything every time is my question.
I suspect as well something that's being missed in the edit, because I feel like I've gotten better at reading the edit than I used to be, especially post my season. And
to be fair, this edit is like in giant font.
No, but I think that's something that's but I think that's something that's missing from the edit.
Yeah.
Is I feel like Soph has done a much better job than is being shown at kind of integrating herself
I agree.
and distancing herself from the Ulis.
I agree with you.
We're shown quite a few times her having strat chats with people who in theory she shouldn't really be having strat chats with, and being let in on plans that she shouldn't really be in on.
Yeah.
And I think that Jawan and Sage are seeing it as a fluid game, and they're seeing it as Soph and Sophie are both not specifically on any given side, are playing the middle.
Terrible misread. Like awful misread at that point then.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's happening.
Okay,
here,
well, that's like painful misread.
We're not disagreeing that the move is terrible.
Yeah.
The move is horrific and is probably game losing for Jawan and Sage. But it's just, you're saying, where's it coming from? It's coming out of nowhere. I think it's coming from stuff that isn't really being shown. And this is something that does frustrate me about the US Survivor edit a little bit, is that while the Australian Survivor edit can really like bang you over the head, it does a really good job at explaining why every vote goes the way it does. You hear kind of everyone important's thoughts before the vote on why they're voting a certain way. You most of the time see the reasons why this person has blown up their game or why people think this person is sketchy. And I think this season, specifically the last episode or 2, hasn't done a fantastic job at really explaining why certain people are voting certain ways, and also how certain people perceive other people, right? And so I think Soph and Sophie are specifically there, and their relationships with Jawan and Sage. And part of it is just
Sophies have done incredibly well.
Yeah, part of it is just Jawan and Sage, especially when you're on the top for a while, especially if you're not that great of a player, which I really don't think that they are. A lot of fun, but I don't think they're great players. When you're on the top for a while, you can kind of get a little bit blind. Like you just get so focused, you lose track of what everyone else is doing. It's I'm in control and everyone is kind of doing what I want, and you forget that everyone who's not on the top is doing their own thing as well on the side, and kind of recognizes that you're there and is working to try and dethrone you. I mean, it happened to me when I was on the top. I thought, like, I'm playing the middle perfectly, I'm right in the middle of everything, and I was. But then because I was there and because I got so blinkered at it all, I stopped maintaining the relationships as well. I stopped keeping track of the specific numbers as well, because I just thought I kind of had it all. And I think that Jawan and Sage are in a similar position where they just think they have it all. They can have their cake and eat it essentially here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm like actively rooting for Jawan.
I love Jawan.
He's my rooting interest. I love, and it's not even like how we got a lot of his story this episode. Like I really thought even the beginning of the episode, I'm like, I'm really rooting for Jawan.
Yeah.
Which may sound counterintuitive based on the criticisms I will lay out in this podcast and have even last week. But I think, I think in terms of what you're saying with them being bad players, I wouldn't say that they're bad players. I would say
I think they're good players.
I would say the pendulum strategy is a very tough assignment. And we said this last week. They have a lot of power, and it's a huge credit to them that they have that power. Like, I will say, where I will give credit in this episode is they bounced back from taking out MC. They didn't even need to bounce back. Like, it went a lot better than I thought.
Yeah.
which was impressive. I thought, okay, will Steven be so mad that he might cut them? Will Jawan be caught out like for playing both sides in a way that Alex was?
Yeah.
Not at all. Steven invested so much in them that he gave Sage that information about the idol. He actively chose them over his Hina allies, even though they just taken out his number one in MC.
Yeah.
And actually, that makes the MC move for me even worse. Because it feels like, well, if the issue was like, what are you doing at the bottom of this Hina group? Like, they weren't at the bottom of Hina. We see that, like, Alex said he and Steven have had some issues. Alex was trying to, he said, split more on Sage, he said in the X interview, than Soph. Because we didn't see how that kind of Kelly storyline played out. But he couldn't because Steven wouldn't allow it. Like, they had a ton of leverage in Hina. They have a lot of leverage in Hina. And now, actually, in taking out Alex, they could have gone that 5 with Hina, where they actually had a majority of 3 of the 5. So the credit to them is how well they were doing in Hina. Now I have to discredit how much work they individually have done to help Uli destroy Hina when they were in such a good position. And I think that, I don't say they're bad players, but I think the pendulum strategy is so hard. We see it done by the absolute greats. Are they the absolute greats? Like, probably not. The balance is off, I think, where... Yeah, Hina have been decimated. What were Hina doing to you? Like,
I think you're ascribing more deliberateness to their strategy that got them to the top than there actually was. I think a lot of it is just when you're on the bottom for long enough, eventually, especially when you have 2 distinct sides fracture like this, like it merge. When you're on the bottom for long enough, you just end up kind of on the top because
Sage did a lot of good work.
Yeah, definitely.
She worked against Shannon. And look, Shannon wasn't doing herself favors, but like Sage won that battle.
There's something to be said for recognizing that you need to flip.
Yeah.
But what was Steven going to do at the Shannon vote, right? Steven wasn't going to not vote Shannon, right? When given the opportunity
he could have voted Jawan.
Yeah, but that would have been a 2-2 anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
And Jawan, at the point where Sage has got Steven, Jawan's not going to make a 2-2 to try and save Shannon. I think a lot of this is positioning that just kind of happens when you're on the bottom for long enough, and then you just end up flipped to the top, and you're like a dog chasing a car, and you get there and you don't really know what to do with it, essentially. And they got to the top, and they're like, "Oh my god, we're here!" And then they just still run around trying to do. They're almost like doing too much, really.
They're doing, I mean, way too much. They should have just hung out with Hina for ages. I've always thought that.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing is, to be fair to them, they got one over on Uli.
Yeah.
You know, they took out Nate.
Yeah.
And that was a surprise to them. Like, that was a blindside. And they have blindsided through these last votes.
But also, it's great, but it's the very obviously correct move for them to do there, right?
Oh, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, in action, like they did that. They blindsided.
Yeah, it's like good job for that. But there's no like incredible gameplay that we witness at the merge for the people who are on the bottom of the red tribe to flip to the yellow to give the yellow the numbers to take out a red tribe person.
For sure.
And then the fact that I think that these last 2 episodes they played very badly, I think does somewhat suggest that it was less deliberate than I think you're giving. Well,
I mean, look, you're preaching to the choir that I think that they are like face in hands decisions. Taran came in last week, and I really appreciated his perspective in trying to give them more credit, maybe, because we know that the edit will tell the Uli story. I actually agonized over it all week, I will say, because I kind of came out of that podcast and I was like, okay, based on kind of what I discussed with Taran, the 3 reasons they might have taken out MC as an option over at least taking the shot at Rizzo or even over Sophie. Because I really felt like MC was the worst choice.
I disagree.
Definitely, like, taking the shot at Rizzo, I think speaks for itself. And they, again, could have gone with MC to at least take that shot. And I even thought compared to Sophie, like now Sophie, again, we've talked about it, has completely flipped away from Hina. I think they should be with Hina. And I think going back with MC, they had more power in that Hina group. Why not keep a Hina group together where it's actually a pretty good bet for you? Taran and I were talking like, okay, well, that will be a future problem in Hina, and I don't even really think it was. Like, for Christina and MC, like, they did want to be with Hina, but like having Steven, they have good sub alliances. Like, it's a great spot for them.
No, I disagree, because the problem is, I disagree specifically with your argument of MC against Sophie. I do agree, obviously, that they should have like taken the shot at Rizzo.
Yeah,
but I do think MC was a better target than Sophie. First of all, because you've got like a pretty easy excuse to take out MC in this situation,
and it worked. They did come back well. Yeah.
And I do think that it hurts the central power structure of Hina and actually gives them more power in theory. Now we actually don't even know if Sophie will end up going to be an Uli number, or if she'll just end up staying like a middle floater.
I think she's with
they
Uli.
potentially think that they can pick up Sophie, and there's reason to think that.
Misread.
No, because they were the one that told Sophie that MC had flipped on her in the first place.
Yeah,
Sage literally told Sophie. And so Sage and Joanne Sage especially is potentially looking at that and going, I warned Sophie that she was at risk. We're going to take out MC. And now we're going to have this Hina majority, but we're going to have an even larger middle group here that we can use to bounce between. Because suddenly if they've got them, Sage, Joanne, and Sophie in the middle, suddenly those numbers to bounce between look a lot better. Now, I still think that even if that is the case, it's a very bad move to take out Alex here. But I don't mind the logic on taking out MC because Steven was really close with MC, and it's hard because they don't really show the logic here in the edit, but there's the potential that Steven is so close with them because his number one in MC is gone, right? Like if they've taken out MC and then Steven has gone to them as a number one, then that's that's a very good move that again makes
this move even
worse. But I don't hate the logic on there. I do think they should have targeted Rizzo there, but as far as MC over Sophie, I think it does actually make a lot of sense.
I think with in terms of Sophie, they put that she doesn't want to be in the middle. Like they've pushed her so far that she doesn't want to swim with them to maybe help Hina. She hates Hina. So they've like pushed her fully away. And I think that they maybe are misreading that. I also think that even if like, okay, they gain stuff from MC going, and MC was a big threat and a big part of Hina. So you're always going to have some merit, but they did put themselves where they had like no margin for error. And now there has been extreme error. And now they've like completely lost it, where I don't think Hina was that troubling for them. Like if it was about Hina are really going to be this group where we're at the bottom, we really have to do something, then maybe you take those risks when Uli are like coming for you and picking up numbers and picking up trinkets and keeping trinkets. And I don't think that Hina was like a dire spot for them to have to do that. So I think again, that's a trickier decision for sure on the pendulum and the balance. I don't think Hina needed to be cut in that way. And I think that there were pros, of course, because MC is threatening and she's a big part of Hina. And there were cons in that, okay, like Hina are now kind of floundering because of you. You're going to have to save it. Oh, no, you haven't. And yes, then there was no margin for error and it couldn't have gone worse, I think, in this episode. And that was an active choice. But, anything could happen. There are also trinkets and stuff. Like they really made it, I think, dicey at best. But the way that I looked at it last week was like, are they actively choosing to take out MC? And like they came back in this episode and like Joanna's like, we've been in control. Like he clearly thinks that that's been like they're doing something in their best interest to take out MC. And I simply don't agree, because even if you take Sophie out of it, why not take the shot at Rizzo? So that's the first part. The second part I thought of, even at MC and Sophie, possibly, even if Sophie is better for them to take out, they possibly felt they didn't have the numbers. We know about Savannah, but maybe they think like Sophie's vote, with Savannah and Rizzo there, we know that Savannah didn't have a vote, but maybe they think like there's actually also nothing that we can do. And like those 3 votes become really, really paramount. If they're even thinking about taking out Sophie. And then the third thing, which I really lent on, was like Rizzo just convinced them. And I felt so bad about that all week, because I'm like, I'm really not giving them enough credit. The edit is always going to affirm that with Rizzo. It's certainly what Rizzo thinks, and we will see his point of view. And I felt bad about that all week. And now I look at it and I'm like, with this Alex vote, like I really think Rizzo convinced them. I know.
Also, we know that it's not Savannah convincing them, because we know that Joanne isn't a massive fan of Savannah and Sage hates Savannah. So it's not Savannah that's convincing them. Which means the only person that can be convincing them is Rizzo, especially because it's not like Soph was there on that on the previous vote. This again comes into the whole editing thing. I wish we saw more of what Rizzo was actually saying not even because we saw Rizzo spreading. We had that little clip of Rizzo spreading all the stuff about Alex, but I wish we saw more of what Rizzo is saying to Joanne and Sage more generally to kind of build that trust and keep them in line. We got a little bit of that the week before, but we're still not, it's still not really clear how Joanne is perceiving Rizzo, because he keeps saying, oh, we're going to take Rizzo off down the line. But yeah, again, I think it all just comes back to like, to the blinkers you get when you're on the top. They're just at the top. They're not thinking all these things through. They think they just have all the power, and they're clearly not numbersy strategic players, right? Both of them, I think both of them have all right social games. Yeah, but there's some people play
like 5v4, can't get the 4v4.
Yeah, and they're clearly not running those numbers.
4v4.
No,
It's
but again,
literally on
Sophie,
two hands.
Sophie is not. They're not seeing Sophie as a number.
Terrible misread.
No,
Unforgivable.
because I still don't even think that. Because Sophie isn't necessarily an Uli number. We'll see if there's evidence in the next episode that Sophie is just a hard number for Uli. But I think it's totally reasonable.
It's not even being a number
Sophie
for Uli. It's
hard
how much he doesn't want to work with Hina, and a lot of their pendulum strategy will at a point be not cutting into Hina. So I think, like, for me, like, okay, firstly, just on like the MC Sophie thing as well, MC
Yeah.
was like also investing in them. So it's not even just that she was a problem for them. Whereas like I think Sophie now, again, I think they're misreading how much she's not with them and has turned to Uli. Whereas
Yeah.
MC, I think, was investing in them. So I think that that's a bad read. I also think that they have had agency. They have had actual agency at both of these votes. Because even if they don't have agency, they think on the MC Sophie 3-3 of it all, they certainly had agency to take the shot at Rizzo last week. So that's real agency that's being wasted.
Yeah.
This week, the swing votes. So they have all the information. So it's true agency. So you have to look at like, is Rizzo convincing them away? And I think the thing that for me that I've always come back to is like, if you're being convinced against your best interest, then you're being led. Like we've seen it before. Like I think Survivor UK is a great example where Chris came to Matt, or they had a conversation at the final night. We're like, we should turn on to Nuke, and a lot of people were like, well, he led Matt astray. It's like it wasn't astray. Matt knew it was in his best interest, and he could vocalize why it was good for his game. And they were like, yeah, let's do that. You know, so that's not leading someone to something. That's just like, yes, wonderful, like mutual benefit. Whereas like I think the thing with Rizzo and why it's beyond the edit to credit Rizzo here is that I don't think that this is in their best interest, and I don't think last week was in their best interest on multiple fronts, but at least we can agree on take the shot at Rizzo. And here, to not take the shot and let Alex even be the bounce back, which again I don't even agree with, but at the very least, and to go for Alex as a priority over Uli, I just think it's just like it's not in the if it's not in the best interest, then like Rizzo is surely the one controlling that.
Yeah, and there's something that I can compare here to my season with Rizzo and AJ, which is how Rizzo is using narratives, I think, really well. Because I think it's really easy in situations like this for even a narrative that isn't even true. So is Alex a messy player? I don't think Alex is a particularly messy player, but this narrative that he's messy, Rizzo spawns that, he says it to this person, he says it to this person. And once that starts, that doesn't stop. I definitely had a chaotic streak, but
You were chaos.
No. I voted the way that I said I was going to vote in all but like 2 tribal councils or something like that. Like I had a very consistent voting record as far as what I told most people that I was going to do. But I had this reputation of Myles. Myles is crazy. Myles could do anything. You can't trust Myles. To the extent that even people in the minority, when I was the person who was on the bottom, weren't coming to me. And a lot of that was just about narrative, right? Like various people, AJ was one of them. Karen did it a bit as well. Various people build these narratives that, hey, so-and-so is crazy, so-and-so can't be trusted. And it's once that narrative starts, it's very hard to break past that. It's very hard to do anything to stop it. Like the narrative that was going on about me was Myles can't keep his mouth shut, he can't keep a secret, when I kept on getting in trouble because everyone else was telling everyone else everything that I would say. And so what was Myles can't keep a secret was that nobody could keep a secret that I was trying to tell them, right? And I think just the same thing here has happened with Alex, where is he chaotic? Is he crazy? No. Was he even playing the middle that much? A little bit, enough. Was he even playing it properly? No, but he was giving enough playing the middle that once this narrative kind of takes hold, it just snowballs and everyone starts noticing. Here's what will happen. Once that narrative takes hold, everyone notices every time you do it. Right, so it's something that you do only occasionally, and everyone is doing it. Everyone's having strat chats with everyone. Everyone's feeding everyone like bits of information that aren't true necessarily, and everyone's having all these different strat chats. But what will happen is that someone points out Alex is playing the middle. Look at he's strat chatting to everyone, and now everyone notices every time Alex is doing it with every single other person, even though he's doing it the same as everyone. It's the lying thing, right? So and so is a liar. Everyone's lying at the game. Maybe there's 1 or 2 people on a season who are trying to be the actually loyal person, but everyone's lying, but this person gets a reputation as being the liar because the narrative takes hold, and then everyone notices every time they lie. Every lie that they do gets pointed out and made public to everyone, versus everyone else is doing the lies that are okay and aren't part of the narrative, right?
And what we saw was just Alex saying to Rizzo and Savannah, they're coming for you, which is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, again, like, it's not true, but I think, like, even in the world, the important thing is, like, even in the world where it is true, and Alex is talking to everyone, and he's loose-lipped, and he's super chaotic, it's not important for the reasons of you've given yourself too fine a margin, because look at the numbers. Like, at the end of the day, they know that Sophie is voting for Alex, right? Yeah. And maybe they think that's with them.
To what extent, though, is Sophie voting for Alex? Yeah, with the Ulis versus because what I reckon probably happened is, and at least what I would probably be doing in this situation is Sophie, Jawan, and Sage together, coming together and being, hey, we're the middle. Where do we want to swing? Because they're not going to swing like in a different way to what. If they know that all three of them are in the middle, they're going to vote together.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference because that puts them at 8 with 3-3-2.
Yeah.
Rather than what we know is a 4-2-2.
I still don't even know that we know that it's a 4-2-2. Like I agree that Sophie is against the Heenas, but I don't know why you would ascribe Sophie to the Uli and not the Savannah and Rizzo Uli and not to Sage and Jawan.
Because I don't think. Because even though I think she's fully jumped to Uli and they've done a better job of cultivating that, and we see those conversations where it's like Soph, Savannah, and Sophie, like they don't see, I think, that Uli have beaten them to the punch of securing Sophie. We know that. But even without that,
did we though? Like we've seen a couple of conversations with her and Savannah. We've seen much more conversations of her with Sage and with Jawan, and we've seen conversation with her and Sage going back to pre-swap. Her and Sage have a pre-established relationship here. They voted together for they've been working together for a while.
Yes. Okay, even if I don't believe that. I think that Uli have. I'll tell you why I feel like
I think
Uli
you're reading into the edit here.
No, I don't. I will. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because Uli are against Hina and Sophie's against Hina. And Sage and Jawan are trying to flip. She will not be with a group that behooves Hina, that goes with Hina over Uli, who have offered her a refuge. The reason that she is more with Uli, I think they've done well socially. I think we've seen it, and sure, a lot of that is the edit, sure. However, I think I can fully say she's with Uli, and I think that they should fully read she's with Uli, not even because they're Uli, it's because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and she will not go back to Hina. If Sage and Jawan are like, work with us, or work with Christina, she's mad at Christina, and they, by the way, handled that terribly.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I think that if they say we're gonna have this whole plan against Steven and Christina, that's what she wants to do. I don't think she wants to flip back and forth with Sage and Jawan, who have a good relationship with everyone, so that they can flip-flop. I think, well, I mean, Sage hates Savannah, so that's actually even more interesting. It's like in terms of being like led away from their best interests, like they don't even want to work with Rizzo and Savannah. Jawan has been targeting Rizzo, and Sage hates Savannah.
Yeah.
But I do think that they are obviously more fluid to be able to work across the aisle, and I don't think Sophie wants to be fluid. I think she's like, screw you, Hina. She said it blatantly. I think she's been too open with it. It's amazing that that she's been able to like be such a great, like that she's been able to bluff so well when she's openly like, I hate those guys.
Yeah.
So I think that is readable. Like, I think they're obviously, as you're saying, reading it wrong. And I think it's a bad misread because I think it's plain on her face that she is like, I don't want to go back with you to Hina next time. I want to be with Uli, and that makes us a 4. And that makes us a 4 of 8. So now the numbers are beyond you.
I suspect that they're potentially thinking, sure, they hate Hina, but Rizzo's idol may be enough.
Now Rizzo's idol.
Well, I love to talk about Rizzo's idol because there's an interesting thing that started happening with New Era Survivor, where there's this meta of an idol that we know about is better than an idol that we don't know about. Because it happened with Ava, obviously, from 48, where her whole alliance was just, hey, we're happy with Ava having the idol.
Well, that to be fair, she wasn't their alliance.
Yeah.
But Rizzo's your enemy.
Jawan
Rizzo is your number one op.
Jawan clearly thinks he's got a relationship.
He also was
with
targeting Rizzo a lot.
I know,
the main person.
But
At
Rizzo,
the late vote, he was the main one targeting Rizzo.
Yeah, but Rizzo also had like it's the one bit that we've seen is Jawan and Rizzo having conversations where Rizzo clearly to some extent wants to work with Jawan, and Jawan potentially thinks he's got Rizzo kind of in his pocket. Now we know that he doesn't, but I think that Jawan is a bit high and mighty and thinks he's got Rizzo in his pocket, potentially even above people like someone like Soph.
I think that unfortunately what this comes down to is that the structure of this group is incredibly apparent to us.
Yes.
I think it's the three Ulis and they have Sophie.
Yeah.
I think you have Sage and Jawan who actually have Steven. And now it's just Christina.
Yeah.
They've cut into a group that was pretty much just Christina and Alex to leave what is a ever-growing Uli 4, I think, with trinkets.
Yeah.
Now, then it becomes, how much can we blame them for not seeing the lay of that land? And I think definitely on Sophie, there's a lot. I think obviously Sophie's doing great work on that. I think Soph must be doing great work on that. And I think that they're seeing it wrong. But I criticize that because I think that if they really looked at it, they would know that group. Like, even if Soph doesn't seem like a juicy enough target, I think Sophie would have been a good target. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the split vote plan that Hina had was terrible, and we can talk through it. They would have lost on the split just with the fact that Sophie wasn't with them, and they were relying on that anyway.
Yeah.
So that was so bad. But I really think that, it's about not seeing those numbers clearly when it feels like it should be really obvious to us, and misjudging it all based on that. And I really think that all 5 of these people, because the margins had been cut, needed to make sure they did not let those 4 go to 8. And I honestly think there's a lot to be said about, you have perfect information with Jawan and Sage. Go to them and say, either we all need to shoot at Sophie, who's a good target. She's flipped and she's a great physical competitor. Or, and also, by the way, that Uli group are so likely to win immunity if you include Sophie with them.
Yeah.
So they're super threatening. Or we take the shot at Rizzo. He thinks he has the numbers. He's not been playing his idol. Let's take that shot. If he plays his idol, they're voting for Alex. Christina can play her idol on Alex, and they can revote Sophie or Soph out. Like, they had a lot of information here, especially led by Sage and Jawan, to win the day, come out of 8 with 5 with an idol gone.
Yeah.
And they didn't. Sage and Jawan didn't think it necessary to do that, and yet they had all, like, especially Sage has all information, like all the tools at her disposal to keep Alex around, who was like a critical number for them.
Yeah.
I think. For all of them, including Sage and Jawan.
Yeah. I think we're really seeing here the fact that everyone kind of outside of our core Uli 3 are just not great Survivor players. I think maybe I
love how it's the Uli 4 and like Soph and Sophie were both not on Uli, but it like the spirit of Uli is there.
I'm still not counting Sophie in the Uli 4. That's not a thing.
It is a thing.
It might become a thing, but it's not a thing.
It is a thing. She says it plain and clear. She hates Hina.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean
who hates Hina? Uli. Now she's Uli.
That doesn't. But I do really think that you've got basically the 3 best players on the season, or at least I'm still not exactly sure how competent of a player Savannah is, because I think we've definitely seen more strategically and socially from Rizzo and Soph. But she seems like a decent enough player. But Rizzo and Soph really do look like they are just a class above the rest of this cast, with the exception of maybe Steven, who I think has gotten repeatedly fucked over by his teammates being really bad. Like, I feel the worst for Steven, because I think repeatedly Steven's allies have let him down at every single stage.
Let's talk about that. Like, how much should Steven, because they all are doing it. Let's talk about Hina. Hina's split vote plan, which includes Sophie. Maybe talk about Jawan and Sage, maybe misreading Sophie. At least, again, parts of that are fair enough that they might think Sophie's with them. The split vote plan that Hina had. Firstly, originally they said 4 votes, including Soph, I guess, on Savannah.
Yeah.
Which was insane. And also not a split. Like, if you're putting a majority on Savannah, you have not split. Rizzo can keep the idol. You are killing my soul. But also, then this plan becomes like a really... Like, last week, Taryn was like, it'd be crazy if they split the vote 6-3 and then they use the extra vote. And I was like, well, they're not going to split the vote because it would include Sophie and Sage and Jawan, who have just voted against Hina. And no, it was their plan.
Yeah.
Like, again, even if, like, Sage and Jawan are fully with them, but like, again, like, they could tell them the plan. They should go and tell them, you can't split the vote. We should be voting either just like the safest thing, which Hina love, on Sophie or Soph, or we should be voting for Rizzo. And then if he plays his idol, we have an idol on the bounce back. We'll have the majority, which I think is what they should do. But yeah, they were going for this 3-3 split, which isn't going to work anyway. It's so bad. Like, no wonder Rizzo thinks he can keep the idol. Like, he knows he has 4 votes, and there's at most like 3 votes. Like, he knows that they're not going to take a shot on him because Hina will not, like, just a straight shot, and they can't split.
Yeah.
So, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, is that not Steven's fault? Is that not everyone's fault?
No, that is Steven's fault. But I think the fact that Steven is in this situation in the first place is as a result of very bad gameplay from basically all of his allies. MC shouldn't have played the idol. Then MC and Soph should really
they biffed it.
Really biffed it on
he
that
wasn't
thing.
there.
And then Christina really biffs it with when Sophie comes back to camp.
That was so
and then
bad.
Alex is apparently playing messy enough that he gets himself a target with Sage and Jawan.
Oh no, it is also his other allies are Sage and Jawan who are making these.
And then his other allies. And so Steven is there. And sure, can we criticize Steven for being part of this split plan that is clearly ridiculous? So yes. Bad. But everything that has had to come together here for them to lose this unlosable majority that they had after the Nate vote is none of that is on Steven. That is all just Steven's ally. And this is something that's really interesting. I am a big fan of have smart allies. They
talk about this on the episode.
Yes. And I'll relay this back to my season again because that's all the experience that I have had. But Laura created this alliance, and Laura decided I'm gonna have a bunch of dumb people in my alliance who I can manipulate, and in theory that's really smart. Big personalities who are going to always be shields in front of you and who you're going to be able to manipulate.
Thing.
Yeah. Now the problem is, having dumb people in your alliance means that they do dumb things and they lose you your majority, whether it be they infight amongst each other or they flip for stupid reasons or they just blow up their own game. I really think you want, especially if you are someone who is a smart strategic player, who I think even Steven is. Steven seems like a very switched on smart guy, both socially and strategically. If you are someone who is a competent strategic player, you want players who are predictable on the board around you so that you can make moves that you can pitch moves that make sense for their game and your game, and you can work off shared incentive as opposed to just relying on people not going and blowing everything up. All of his allies have in the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, look, no defense, even for Steven. Sophie didn't love that either. And I know they'd just been asleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that they treated Sophie when she came home,
criminal.
Wait, you're not the Hina we wanted?
What?
Where's MC? I miss MC.
Yeah.
It's fine. You'll see her on the jury. She came for me. They're yeah, because you're at the bottom of Hina. She's I'm out.
Yeah.
That was bad all around. But yeah, the main people that Steven has to contend with is the fact that Sage and Jawan have destroyed everything he created. They got themselves into this great Hina spot for 1 vote.
Yeah.
And then we're but now we destroy it.
And they're supposed to be his 2 closest allies.
Yeah, they're
as well.
2 closest, exactly.
In fact, Steven literally it was Steven that told Sage about the idol this episode,
he
right?
keeps investigating
and then Sage and Jawan in the same episode flip on Steven. Oh my god, I'm gonna bug this mic out.
Probably. Peter in the other room is Myles, you're too loud. I can tell.
Steven,
I can read his mind.
I feel so bad for Steven because I do think, while yes, there is mistakes that he's made. There is a lot of just purely ridiculously bad gameplay from everyone around him that's allowed this. There's also something to be said, interestingly, for when you come back from a vote. The nighttime etiquette, essentially, when people who you're not with come back from a vote, or even when you are in the vote and then you come back and what happens. Because I think there's a lot, and it's a shame that I feel like Survivor, both Oz and US, don't show it more. I think there's a lot more that goes on in the reading the dynamics directly after the vote when you come back. I think you can pick up on a lot, and I think it's where a lot of people slip up. On my season, I've seen it. You see it on other seasons. You see it all the time. It's when everyone's tired and something's not.
Well, they
that
were
initial
outright
surprise.
Asleep. Yeah.
That initial surprise before someone has the time to formulate a response gives so much away. And I really love that we really got to see it firsthand now, even from disastrously bad gameplay from Christina.
Yeah, it was sad to watch. What did you think about Christina giving up the reward to Jawan?
I think it's nice.
Yeah, that was fine.
But I think it's nice both from a human moment and also from a game.
Yeah,
because it does first of all, Jawan seems like a lovely guy, and people talk a lot of smack about New Era US Survivor being short and I don't like the fact that it's shorter from a pure gameplay and dynamics and social dynamics side of things. But from the physical side, this season especially has seemed brutal. It has been really brutal. There's quite a few players who have not eaten for lots of stretch. They don't get any food. I do genuinely think that it's probably harder on a pure physically level, not including the mental side, because I think obviously it's easier 20 whatever days, but on a pure physical level, I think that the 20 however many days it is without
26 days.
26
but the fact
days,
that you can be so cavalier about it really just shows you played 47 days, right? So you're like, yeah, 20, it's all the same to me. Once we get sub 30, I don't even know.
I do think that it's probably harder physically than the 47 days
That's
where
gracious.
you have consistent rice and beans, right? I do think that the mental side of things obviously makes things a bit more difficult on the long game, and I think there's more interesting social dynamics.
You have to survive so much.
When you look at these guys, and it has seemed hot as well. Like Jeff commented that it's been consistently hot all the way through. That's awful. And for Juwan to just not eat through all of that, I think it's a really lovely human moment that Christina, who's been on like the winning tribes consistently, gives up her food.
Yeah.
And it should, in theory, be also a great social move as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the thing that people always say about that is like, firstly, like, would you want to feed your competitor? But Christina's not winning winning the challenges. So it's not really an issue. And then I think that what other people would say is that, oh, it makes you more of a threat. It creates this debt that people don't like, but Christina's not been a big threat. So like all the things that you would take issue with, I don't with Christina. It seems like a really genuine moment.
Yeah.
And if it buys some goodwill, if it's the reason that it's pushed over into a jury vote, I think do it. I think it was nice.
Also, specifically, if it's someone that is well liked by the rest of the tribe,
and
is also been visibly having a rougher time than everyone else. Like Juwan is tangibly not eating, right? That makes it more understandable, where it's clearly not a game thing. There's an emotional side of it where, hey, we all like this guy, he's having a rough time, I've had a good time. I don't think I think it's just a nice little
there was a
moment.
secret scene where they were like picking the groups and they were all so supportive of Juwan. Like everyone was on the same page with it. It is funny because
of Juwan.
Yeah, I love Juwan. Like it was a good social move, and then you see the way that they treated Sophie. Like even in that, she's like, she picked Sophie first actually, and she's like, I feel like we need a bond again. And Sophie's like, I'm also a great challenge competitor.
Yeah.
The craziest thing about what they did with Sophie was that they weren't like, it wasn't just that they clearly were like, why are you here? You're not the Hina we want. They were like, but also, will you be a crucial split for us? Like, if that's the case, fine. Okay, Sophie's not with you anymore. You've made it clear as day. The 5 of you are on Sophie. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's great. They're never going to play the idol on her if that's a concern.
Yeah.
She's not with you. We can maintain our 5. If they're not looking to, again, I think that they should take the shot at Rizzo and they have an idol on the bounce back. But at least Sophie is the safest choice. At that point, it's like what Boss and Rob might do, where you like, take out that, or like what, I mean, look, Rob says, you took out the swing vote, but I think, taking out someone who's not going to be protected.
Yeah.
You would think that they'd go that way, but to treat her that way and then be like, we crucially need you on a 3.
Well, it's just complacency, right? Like they are looking at the numbers and they think they've got all the numbers. They think they've got Juwan and Sage. They think they've got Sophie, and so they think they can.
They think they have her so much that it's not even like, okay, we don't know. Like you're the Matt Elrod vote. Like we're just in case we don't have you, we're gonna take you out. They're like, we rely on you. You're a crucial split vote for us.
But this happens all the time when you get, especially when you get these. It's hard to say with Steven, but especially with Christina, and I think to an extent with Steven, when you get these more passive players who aren't really active strategic players end up on the top, I think a lot of the time they can.
Steven is as well, Myles. Sorry, he wasn't throwing challenges.
Yeah, you're right. Steven is. But when you get these more passive strategic players end up on the top, I think a lot of the time they don't do the required maintenance that you need. When you've got someone like Tony does this really well. Tony is just always doing the little adjustments, right? If this person is potentially a threat to his game, he takes them out, even if they're in his alliance. But also, he's making sure that he's always got the numbers on his side. To run the game from the top, you need to be micromanaging.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a bit easier to run the game from the middle. When you're in the middle, I don't think you have to do as much micromanaging. Now, you eventually will have to when you end up in like a top or bottom position. But in the middle, you can kind of just cruise for a bit. But these guys like the Steven and Christina have just been on the top especially in this late game, like basically, no, even including the start, they've been on the top the whole game, and so they haven't really had to do these little micromanaging tweaks, and they've just gotten complacent. That's all it is.
The one thing I will say about Christina she said she wanted to bond with Sophie, and then gave up her reward to Jawan. So that took out the bonding.
That's very unfortunate.
But I will say that, like, but one thing that, again, is fine about it, I think it was still worth it because also Jawan's not going to go. It wasn't like he was with, like, Sophie, Savannah, and Rizzo. Like, he had Alex there. It wasn't a group that could talk. So
yeah, and again, I think it's very hard to plan around Jawan and Sage flipping there. Like,
yes, that one's not on them.
The other stuff with regards to how the split was structured and losing Sophie and whatnot, yeah, sure, that's really bad gameplay from them. But I don't think there is a world here where they should be predicting Jawan and Sage to flip there.
Other than they just also took out MC.
No, but I think that it is totally reasonable if you're on the yellow side there to be...
this is unforeseeable. It's baffling.
Totally get it. You've got Savannah there with her necklace. You've got Rizzo there with the idol. It's kind of is really messed up situation. Understandable.
Yeah, I would love to talk about Alex because there's a couple of things with Alex. Something I didn't enjoy about this episode was we hear nothing from the fact that Alex, while voting for Rizzo, is in on a plan that could take Soph out, and Soph votes out Alex. Like, Kayla are the whole beginning of the narrative, and it's so irrelevant. And I think that it's actually not even a fault of the edit. It's just the structure of the season where these disaster tribes segment the narrative. Like, Kayla's not important anymore. They've both moved on. They don't have, like, compatible interests.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually not important. But the fact that that's what Kayla comes down to, like, this tribe is everything at the beginning. And then one of them makes the final 8. Like, stop me if you've heard this before. This happens, like, in the new era so often.
Yeah.
And but you don't even get that, like, Caleb, Emily kind of storyline throughout.
Still
like,
a little bit working
it
together.
was just, like, completely dropped.
Yeah.
From a narrative perspective, it was just, like, sad.
Disappointing.
Yeah, but I think it's of the way that the game is structured in actuality. And then, I mean, I think in terms of, like, the whole edit for Alex, I think because a lot of it was possibly truly on Rizzo amping that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was a strange kind of end for Alex, who was a really big character early. He actually has more confessionals than Rizzo.
Dropped off a cliff.
He has more confessionals than Rizzo because he got like 21 in the first episode, Australian Survivor style. He becomes less relevant. We don't even see how important he is to Hina. And then he's just kind of taken out here in a storyline introduced like halfway through the episode.
Yeah.
That's mostly based on like what Rizzo's doing, is hard to understand, hard to believe because it's not really real and not that important. Just a strange way for Alex to go when he's such a huge part of the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it was very strange. And they haven't really done a good job at showing the deterioration of the relationship between Alex and Soph. Because clearly there's some... I know they're on different sides.
Maybe that wasn't there because they talked about this in the X interviews where it was like, she really didn't come back from the Nate thing. But you really need them to like
show that.
Yeah, I mean, it might not exist. Like, there needs to be a conversation between them where it's like, how dare you? It's like maybe they're just not having that conversation.
Or even but even not even conversation, even just
a confessional,
confessionals. Like show. I feel like that's a really important relationship, and they just kind of ignored it. And I don't know why, because I think it would. Because I also don't think this.
You need to ask the question.
First of all, this episode had, I feel like, a bit of filler content in it that you really could have spent more time on explaining, just everything with Alex. I feel like it really... I get what you mean with regards to not liking this episode, in that while I really enjoyed it from a strategic perspective, I do think everything about how Alex was edited in this episode was very strange and didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and maybe that's because it doesn't make sense. Like, maybe that's because Rizzo's doing that good a job, but then again,
maybe it's just because Sage and Joanne are just like...
being led by Rizzo.
Yeah.
But again, is that so ungracious? That's exactly what the edit would show us. Is the edit actually showing us the truth? I think yes. And that's somewhat, so easy. Yeah. Like, as Taryn said last week, like, that's the easiest way to analyze the show. But like, I really have tried to be like, how else does it make sense? I mean, I'd love to talk about it from Uli. Yeah. From their perspective. Because I think Uli are interesting. Like, Uli, they're doing great.
Great tribe.
There's 4, I mean. I'm talking about the Uli 4. I have it right here in my notes. You can see. Uli
you mean
4,
the Uli 3 plus Sophie?
Uli 4/Chizzy is actually what the notes segment says.
Yeah.
I can't get up to do the Chizzy music. I could, but I don't want to. I'm far away from my computer at this point because of the formatting. So you will have to sing the Chizzy theme song as a Chizzy winner. That's what we're going to need.
I can do my best. I don't remember.
3, 2, 1. I mean, we're not doing it now.
Chizzy. Oh,
it's getting... Oh, no, do it. It's getting kind of...
Getting chizzy. It's getting kind of chizzy. That's it, right?
It was great. Really good. So good. No, okay. Well, I mean, I'm not giving out the chizzy points now, but like for Rizzo, Yeah, I mean, what more can be said? Like,
He's playing
killed
great.
it.
I
Like,
really need to stress to the people listening here that holding an idol through not one but two tribals like that, where you are a very obvious named target. You know your name is out there. You know you are the target of the other side. They in
and he
theory
gets a
should have
vote.
numbers.
So
He's getting votes.
yeah,
That is crazy. I had one, technically two if you count me stealing the idol, but I had one vote where I had a public idol. Immediately played it because it is hell. Even having a private idol is awful.
oh my god, it's so hard to have an idol. It's so like, listen to you.
Yeah.
It's so hard to win, and then what do I do with my money?
But my point being, Rizzo is clearly just ice cold, and Rizzo's doing something that I really like. The way he talked about the game being, you don't coming second and coming seventh is the exact same. And I think that's
well, actually, it's not in the US Survivor.
Sure, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. For the purpose of winning,
yeah,
there's no difference. Okay, let's say fourth. There's no difference between coming fourth and
there
coming
is. They
ninth.
get money the whole time more.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's fine though. But you want to play the game to win, I guess.
Yeah,
You should definitely play the game to win.
And I think that's something that separates a lot of the best players.
They get paid the whole, like, no matter what they
That's
get
wild.
paid. Yeah.
Jealous, but
well, you won. What are you jealous of them?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that AJ and I definitely had in our season. It's something that you look at your people like George, your people like Luke, your best players, they have the ability to stomach short-term risk in the understanding that it's a move for long-term gain. And that is, it seems very simple from the outset, but when you're in the moment is incredibly difficult because it's just purely, you look like an idiot if you do it wrong. Right? If you're that guy and there's
he can still look like an idiot. He can still go home with the idol in his pocket.
No, that's what I mean. If you're if you're the guy that is holding onto the idol where your name is thrown out and you know that you're a target, Geordie style, right? When you're that person, or Simon style, though he didn't know his name was out there, but Geordie's a really good example. You look like a absolute dumbass, but it's also in some cases it is the correct move to do, and it's really something that separates the best players. And I really think Rizzo's a phenomenal player. I think he's shown to be the best player this season so far, and I think he's playing an excellent game, and he has that winning mindset, which is stomach the short-term risk to get the long-term winning potential. And there's a time to do it and there's a time to not. Some people have way too much risk appetite where they're just, I'm going to take this silly risk here, this silly risk here. There is a time to play the idol.
Yeah.
But clearly he's got the social connections that he is confident here. And then with that information, because he's probably thinking I'm 80% good here, I'm 20% bad based on my social read, then having that social read and then making the correct play based on it.
Yeah.
It's something that is very easy to look at home and kind of just be like, oh yeah, it's good play. I think that it is standout play. I think that it's something that I think the last two votes he has played, genuinely been playing at an elite level that I don't think anyone else, I don't even know that there's many people from the last couple of seasons that I'd put. I think he's playing it like the best game in the last couple of seasons. So far.
Yeah.
Obviously we'll see how it goes, but
well, he makes it look easy, and that's why, and that's it. But the thing is as well is that actually something really subtle is I think that his motivations have slightly changed, which is good. Like last episode, it was a lot of like, I'm not playing it. Nate just got voted out. I'm down in the dumps.
Yeah.
And like, I'm actually like, I feel like I'm at the spot where I need to really shoot for the fences.
Yeah.
This time he's like, maybe I'll play my idol. Like he's actually thinking about it, and it's more on the read of his positioning, which I think is more important because he's like, actually, if I just survive through this round with my idol, I will have more leverage than I thought I had last week. And I did have last week, and I've built that. So I think as well, he has a very good constant read on like, you know what? I might take the shot at a 50-50 last week where I won't this week.
Yeah.
But this week I've read that my position
and
is
also
even better.
I think that's also the correct play,
Yeah,
because when you're on the bottom, that's
Yeah.
the time to take the bigger
Agreed,
risks,
yeah.
right? And when you're in a more comfortable position, that's the time.
He has more to lose.
Yeah, you've got more to lose there. And so I think that both of them he's done correctly, and that clearly there was less risk this week versus I think the last week there was probably.
Well, I mean, again, he knows that they're not going to take like the shot at him.
Yeah.
They could have with the idol bounce back, but it's fine. They could have protected. And he knows they can't split.
Yeah.
They don't know that. So yeah, I mean, I think he's reading that very well. And
Yeah.
even last week, it was probably constantly changing. When he gets on that original beach, he has kind of nothing.
Yeah.
And then throughout that day, he's gained a lot more. So I think it's a mentality of I'm going to take risks versus the read of I think it's less risky. And I think that as he gains more, it becomes more on reading his position well.
His social capital is clearly pretty good as well, because we see, and it's not even in what we see, it's also what we're not seeing. We're not seeing a lot of conversations with him and Sage, but Sage is working with him. And especially considering that Sage does not like Savannah, which means that Rizzo is clearly putting in work to at least get something with Sage. Clearly, Joanne's got some sort of decent relationship with him. He's got great relationships with Soph and Savannah. And even we saw Alex.
And he did well with Sophie. Getting her into the Elite Four.
Did great with Sophie. And even we see Alex having like strategic conversations with him when they're in theory on opposite sides.
And he's done well with Joanne in a weird spot.
Yeah,
Joanne targets him, but also feels he can always work with him.
I don't understand the relationship between them. I wish that they'd give more time to Rizzo and Joanne, because I think that's one of the most interesting relationships at the moment. That's dynamics on the beach. But like, whereas someone like Savannah, she is a target because she has rubbed people the wrong way. Rizzo is only a target because he's got the idol and is in that kind of group and is a huge threat. But his social game is clearly really good.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it in comparison to Savannah. Because again, Christina says that Savannah has like mean girl energy. There was a secret scene last week that I hadn't seen yet when I podcasted with Tara, and I do try to find them. They're tricky in Australia.
Yeah.
And it wasn't out yet. And it's such an interesting secret scene.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So basically, it's a secret scene where Sage and Savannah are at the Split Tribe beach, and they're like, we need to like clear the air, and
they kind of clear the air.
Yeah, Savannah's good about taking it on board.
Yeah.
At first, I will say what Sage talks about is how she feels like Savannah was really kind of mean about the chickens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is that the mean girl thing? Because I kind of feel like Savannah has been kind of mean to Juwan. Like the thing, like how annoyed she was by Juwan. It felt like Juwan was just pure as day.
I feel like there were little bits with regards to her, and I remember when I was watching the early episodes, I was like, okay, the vibe between how Savannah is like her attitude towards Sage was
that definitely could be true as well.
But there's really, I think Sage, this happens to people where, especially if you're on the bottom for a little bit, you kind of will sometimes just feel like you're perpetually on the bottom or at risk and not realize how the power dynamic shifts. And I feel like at this point, Sage realizes that she's on the top. But for a while, Sage felt like she was more on the bottom.
She was on the bottom.
She was, and then she wasn't. And it's also not recognizing that Savannah is now on the bottom.
I'm going to push back on that. Yeah. Well, okay. Firstly, the thing that Sage brings up is the chickens.
Yeah.
Which I think, as a vegetarian, felt overblown. That wasn't personal from Savannah.
Yeah,
She's
but if
naming
it's part
the
of like a broader, if it's part of a broader thing,
yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Especially if that's what's being shown in the edit, they potentially Sage goes
just, that,
and then
okay, fair enough. I feel like the way that Sage feels is possibly very valid. The chicken example feels like not a great way to express that, because again, as I feel like that's an edit thing.
I feel like there's probably, because I did feel like Sage was getting weird. Like,
yeah,
there was
I think
a weird
that's very
attitude
fair
towards Sage.
Well, then that's why I'm going to push back on what Savannah says next, which is like, I'm really like, I'm struggling because I'm on the bottom.
Yeah,
and you don't know what it feels like. She says,
in
the middle of her apology,
I did hate that.
She said, you don't know what it feels like because you weren't actually on the bottom. I was like, let me stop you right there. At this point, you've been on the bottom for 12 hours.
Yeah.
You've been at the top the whole time. Sage was on the bottom. She wasn't in the 4 of Uli. And at the very least, like, had to struggle through that swap.
Yeah. And it's also about understanding as well that even if
if that were true.
Even if it were true, a lot of people feel like they're on the... On my season, Kate and I had a very funny conversation at around, like, Final 9, where Kate explained to me how she was feeling like she'd just been on the bottom for the whole, like, basically post-merge. And... of course, I'm sitting there and I have tangibly been on the bottom all game, and I'm like, what are you talking about? But the thing is that was what I was saying in my brain. In my brain, it was, what the hell are you talking about? Your name has not come out of the urn once. But in reality, I'm like, yeah, I was empathizing. I'm like, yeah, I understand better than anyone in his...
Yeah, way better than you.
but my
do you know that they call me the jungle rat? Are you aware of... Anyway,
my point being that in that kind of situation, right, perception is everyone's reality, right? And if they perceive that they're on the bottom, then you just
Also,
play into that.
she was on the
I'm
bottom.
saying even if she
yeah,
wasn't,
I
even in
agree
a
with
world
you.
where
I agree with you. In the middle of your apology, certainly to be like, but I'm on the bottom now, and it's like
even more when that could have been a potential bonding point,
Yeah.
right? Like I
I'm so
bonded with
sorry
all
I
the
made you
people.
feel like
Yeah.
this. It sucks.
Yeah, like
Oh my
I
God.
understand or hey, you were on the bottom, you felt like you were on the bottom. Now
I
you
never
know
meant to-
how I'm feeling
Yeah.
right now, and so that's I just need
I didn't mean for you to feel that
Yeah.
way. I'm so sorry that you did. Actually, because she doesn't want to say you were on the bottom, because
Yeah.
that's not good either. But it's like, we made you feel that way. Like, I'm so sorry. And I mean, she is apologetic, which is good.
That-
But it's like, it pains me to think that you felt that way, especially now having felt it this morning,
Yeah.
because this morning really sucked for me.
That kind of thing is why I'm not quite as high on Savannah as I think a lot of people are, because I think Savannah is getting lumped in with like Rizzo and Soph as part of this
Yeah.
underdog crew of like, oh, playing this really strong game. Whereas I think I don't know that Savannah, first of all, I'm sure we'll talk about her jury equity because I'm not
I want to talk about it.
sure where she's kind of standing there. And we're getting all these mean girl comments pop up, and it's
Even in exit interviews.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's clearly tangible things that Savannah's doing. And I think we're seeing a little bit of it. Even like she definitely does have a little bit of that snarky energy in confessionals. And we see even moments of, at best, kind of cockiness on the beach. And then we see moments like that. Like there are clearly tangible issues with Savannah's social game. And I know that's coming from me, who is the master of the social game. Probably statistically the worst social game as far as total votes gotten over a season, if you're measuring it that way.
Well,
but yeah,
you play for 47 days. That's so much.
But there's definitely really big flaws, I think, in Savannah's game that we're not seeing in some of the other people on the season that she's being compared with as far as playing this really strong game.
And how would she rebuild it in a final tribal council? The way that it's being rebuilt in the edit, which is like, again, she talks about how it connects to her personally. And then you think, okay, well, that actually might be great. She can be like, I was on top, I was cocky, I rubbed people the wrong way, and I've really
That's
learned
literally exactly how
that would be great.
Yeah.
However, we saw her with Sage.
Yeah.
Again, stick her foot in it.
Yeah.
You don't want her to be at a final tribal council like, and then I really learned and no one else really understood it but me.
Yeah.
That was very concerning to me. Yeah. That is not how she should have spoken to Sage.
Totally.
She wasn't empathizing with her. I think what Savannah's done well is obviously like she's like physically protecting.
Yes.
By winning the immunities. I do think that a big part here of why Juwan and Sage might wrongly go with Alex is because it's, I think, and they said this on Know It Alls, it's like, well, if we're going for Savannah or Rizzo, again, I mean, they can't split the vote. Yeah. But if it's like, we'll just shoot on Savannah, that's better to me than a possibility of Soph or Sophie, who they might think is with them. And that's like, again, a huge credit to Soph and Sophie for not being juicy enough targets or seeming as workable targets.
Yeah, totally.
And it's a credit to Savannah for protecting herself. Yeah. But I do really worry because if we look at this Uli group, we got a question from Matt Benjamin and kind of like, when should they turn? And I think it's really different depending on who you are. If you're Savannah earlier, I wouldn't want to sit next to Soph. They love Soph. They're pained to be taking out Soph. Christina hates that. She's been cultivating something with Soph. We see Sage really like Soph. Yeah. They like Soph so much and she's doing a great job because, again, they're originally bringing her in on a plan against Savannah and Rizzo, which is so bad from Hina, but so good from her. Yeah. That social game is great. I think she has the Kele story, which is impressive. She will talk about it. She has knowledge is power, so she could be doing something flashy as well, which Rizzo has been doing. I think Soph's in a great spot. I think that you'd be happy to sit next to Savannah. So I think Savannah needs to work quicker to sit next to maybe like a Christina or maybe a Sophie, who also seems like she isn't as liked. And I think like Alex talked about that she'd been rubbing people the wrong way as well. So I think that she has a much more narrow path. If you're Rizzo and Soph, I mean, definitely they obviously have to win next week. And then from there, Savannah has to be thinking about it. They can think about it later at a 6 or a 5 just to kind of take out each other. Yeah. And then so with Savannah or whoever's left, Savannah and Sophie, wonderful opportunity there. And both look really impressive and both look I don't know who's better at fire, but yeah, both be, I think, well liked. So I think there's a different way to look at it if you're Savannah, because she's made it a harder jury position for herself. Whereas I think Rizzo and Soph look great from a jury perspective and have much less to worry about. And now just need to like kind of win this battle and then like think about that later down the line.
So I think I'm a bit higher on Savannah's chances than you. In that I think that there's a narrative building for Savannah where I think once you hit a point where you're just a constant target. I mean, we saw this with obviously Rachel. We saw it a little bit with me. I think once you hit a point where you're a constant target, you build up a bit of respect. Even if the jury doesn't like you very much, you build up a bit of respect in the jury just for surviving those votes. And I think that Savannah being a more obvious target than Sophie, I think against Rizzo, that's rough. I don't think Savannah really has much against Rizzo, but against someone like Soph, Soph is someone who's slid under the radar a little bit more. And sure, she may have some big move with regards to the knowledge is power, which would catapult her up. But as far as actual jury equity as it stands right now, first of all, no one cares about pre-merge. No one cares at all about pre-merge. As much as I think it's unfair.
I think it'd help Kenzie.
Maybe.
I mean, like, the Disaster Tribe is just so extremely different to anything else. Maybe. Like, Soph had lived lives before Savannah had seen Tribal Council.
Maybe, but as a general rule, pre-merge doesn't count for a lot.
That's a narrative there. I think there's a real narrative there.
Well, when you're talking about narrative, though, I think that Savannah has an awesome narrative in which she's been in a spot where two kind of tribals in a row, she's been at significant risk and she's won immunities. And especially if she and Rizzo, because the thing is, people aren't seeing, I don't think people are really seeing Sophie as Soph as the core of that. I think
which is so impressive. She's doing so much good work by not being seen as the core of that.
Yeah, here's the thing. We're analyzing this from the outside. We're not analyzing this from the inside. When you're from the inside, and again, we saw this on my season with Kaylin and I, right? The person who is playing the understated game is probably playing a better game, but won't get the credit for it. I don't know that Sophie's going to be able to get the credit for it in the same way that Savannah will. And to be fair, Sophie definitely has the social side down more. But I think if you're talking narrative, especially if she makes it to final three in a spot where her name's being constantly thrown out and especially at the point where Rizzo's gone and Savannah basically has claim for the whole Uli post-merge, I think that like Savannah has a very killer narrative there. And I think I think it's probably close between her and Soph, but I wouldn't be writing her out.
I think that obviously, she'd have Rizzo vouching for her.
Yeah.
She'd have Nate vouching for her.
Yeah.
She'd have some people who never want to vote for her.
Yes.
Does Sage want to? Does Christina apparently want to? Ever?
Yeah.
It's hard to come into a jury and there are like some people who will never vote for you.
Yeah. But then there's also a few people who are pretty solid lock votes for her as well.
Yeah.
As long as she doesn't sit next to Rizzo.
It's funny because there's been a lot of comparisons to Parvati.
Yeah.
And Parvati, something I said about her before Australian Survivor versus the World was that when she was younger, she had kind of a social game that's more akin to Savannah, where it's like you have your people, and you take on the world, and the people you're against don't like you.
Yeah, totally.
But your group wins, and when they win, like and to be fair, Parvati did win and lose a jury vote, and they were close jury votes when she won and lost. So I think that would be Savannah's story, and again, it could go either way, the way it did for Parvati. But I think it's about having. Like what we used to say, like was Parvati's clicks. I don't think that's true of Parvati now. I think that her social game in Australia v. the World shows that it was super comprehensive.
Yeah.
Other than with Rob Bentley, and it felt like a lot of that was on him.
But I feel like part of that is just like maturity.
I completely agree. I mean, look, and Savannah I think is a bit older than Parvati was when she played her first few times.
Well, yeah, Parvati was like what 23 or something.
23 to 26, crazy. But I think that was like she was the queen bee, and I think that's why people see that with Savannah, and that had shortcomings. It won and it lost, and in ways the people didn't understand it with Sandra, but in ways it like deservedly lost. I would have voted for Parvati, I've always said, but she was no friend of the heroes. They would have called her the mean girls. A mean girl, and even in Micronesia when she won, the people were. I mean, she had outplayed like an Aussie, and obviously he's going to vote for Amanda, but he was mad. But like. Yeah, I think that people were like actively negative towards her in a way that you don't often find with some Survivor winners that people just really love.
Yeah.
So that would be her story. There's certainly a win there, and there was for Parvati, and can also be a loss. But I do think it would be underrated. I think Soph's been doing so well.
Yeah.
Again, and so much of it is like subterfuge. So like they aren't seeing it. She'd have to speak to it.
Yeah.
She also does have knowledge is power.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about it. As the only person who's ever actually stolen an idol. That could go a long way. Because for me, with Soph, if she can use it and really cement herself as like, no, I was always with this Uli 3. I'm also doing impressive things. She hasn't even told anyone about knowledge is power.
She has a very obvious play available to her, which is ride to 5 with Rizzo and then Rizzo will probably be the biggest threat in the game then.
That's
and then
the winning
you steal
move.
his idol at 5, and then you win fire at 4. Like, so
that's the winning game.
That's
especially
so
coming
if
from
she
Taylor,
does
the narrative.
that,
Yeah,
she beats anyone who she sits against. Like, that is the and
that's
that
a
is
perfect game.
Yeah, 100%. If she's able to do that, now
and she's
it's a
never
question,
told them, which I do love.
Yeah, now it's a question of whether she can keep her number one thing at the moment should be keep Rizzo's idol in the game. Keep Rizzo safe. So she keeps Rizzo safe till final 5. Rizzo does the thing that everyone does at final 5, which is play the idol for himself. It's not Savannah. Soph goes, yoink, I'm going to take this, votes out Rizzo, and then literally doesn't, as long as she wins fire, it doesn't matter. She beats everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people think that Soph will need it next week, but you can just vote out like a Sage or Jawan next week.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be Christina, who's also been like a lesser threat than a Steven.
Well, she doesn't know Christina.
Yeah, exactly. So firstly, she doesn't know it. It would have to go through channels of like Sage, who hasn't even told Jawan.
Yeah, I don't know how that information
I think next week
is
the extra vote.
To be fair, with Steven now gone, Sage has more ability to tell more people about it, right? Because I think a big thing for Sage not telling anyone was Steven in the game.
Well, Steven's...
Oh, wait, sorry. No, Steven's still in the game. What am I talking about?
I'm like, what happened?
No, Steven told her... Sorry, I've gotten my lines totally crossed. But yeah, I don't see any way in which the information gets from Sage and Steven.
And even if it did, don't vote for Christina. You want Christina around.
Yeah.
Christina seems like someone they could beat.
Yeah, and in challenges as well, right?
100%. I think that it would actually be better to go after like a Sage.
Yeah, Joanne or
who
Sage.
has had a relationship with like a Sophie. So then you're cutting off. I mean, you'd have to be able to do that, and Sophie would have to feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the reason it's hard is because it's a better choice.
Yeah.
Certainly, Sophie would want a Christina out. And hopefully you can get her to the point where she's taking out a bigger threat to you.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree with you. If Sophie's going to use her knowledge as power in a game-winning way, it's not about using it for the group.
Yeah,
you're doing well enough for the group.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they don't want to target you. They've been coming to you with plans. Like, that's been your part in the Uli 3.
Yeah.
And Rizzo has his idol and he's convincing people, and Savannah's done well physically protecting.
Especially,
but you need to win with it individually.
Especially if she's able to get to that spot and be like, you all were trying to flush Rizzo's idol and none of you can do it. None of you guys, like...
That's so good.
You let Rizzo have his idol.
Good. See, you're the knowledge is power whisperer, because this is so good. I can see the moment. Well, that's been the best moment of the season.
That would genuinely be a top 5 survivor.
That'd be wonderful.
Survivor move of all time.
No offense to Rizzo, who we love.
Yeah.
But yeah, if she gets to the final 5, it's like, well, why flush an idol when you can steal it?
Yeah, 100%. Well, she's just in the
And no one knew she had knowledge of power, and she found it with that group. And no one knew, and they were all looking for it, and she didn't tell anyone the whole time.
Yeah, it's genuinely, she is in the... Initially, I was like, oh, how's she going to steal Christina's idol to try and get that?
I love this.
No, I don't think that's the best play here. They've got a really clear path forward to get the numbers. And then if she can just get that... literally, if she can be sitting at Final 5 with Savannah, Rizzo, and just literally any 2 people, ideally like Christina and Juwan maybe, or Christina and Sage, who knows, and just yoink, and then win and fire. Look, that's a quote. She should be spending all of her time practicing fire right now. That should be her, because also even if she isn't able to do that, she's not going to get voted out she's not going to get targeted before Rizzo and before Savannah, realistically.
Yeah.
Unless, to be fair, that would be a very smart move, I think, from Rizzo specifically, potentially, even not knowing that she has an
because
idol,
I think that she's more of a jury threat.
Yeah. But she just gets there with any combination of people in Rizzo, as long as there's like some people she can beat in fire. She just practices fire for
the challenge. She's been pretty good in challenges.
Yeah, that's true. She's been.
If it's like, it's not usually an endurance challenge.
Well, I guess in that case you can go. Yeah, if you've got Christina there, you can go Savannah there, because Savannah's been good at the endurance challenges. But yeah, you're right. Final 5 on is it final 4? Yeah, final 4.
It's often like
Yeah,
you know what
4.
I mean.
Yeah, it's an obstacle.
Why can't I think? No, no. Usually it's Samotion.
It's Samotion.
Or thereabouts.
No, it's been obstacle courses a couple times. I remember 48 was like do this, do that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you get to that spot with Savannah's a great one there because she's not going to be as physical as you, I don't think. Christina's a great one to have there. Potentially Juwan. And then I think you're sitting really pretty in that spot. And she's been practicing fire for 7 days straight. Everyone's like...
Man, that's like a Chris Underwood play, but you actually played the whole game. So you played a lot of it.
Why are you spending so much time practicing fire? No reason.
I've got plans.
I also... Everyone... one thing I do hate, here's a little like sidetrack rant. Everyone being like, "Oh, they've been out in Survivor for so long. Why do they not know how to make fire?" It's like you got so much other stuff to do out there that you're busy with. And especially our season was specifically unique because I literally was drying coconut husks every single day, but it kept raining, and so we literally couldn't practice fire on our season. So everyone on our season was like, "Why does Sarah not know how to make fire?" Because we couldn't practice because it was just raining constantly.
I think they want people to practice like beforehand, like in their kitchen.
Yeah, potentially, but it's not the same. It's not the same. You have a way bigger knife. You have totally different stuff you're dealing with. It's not the same. And it's even more on these short seasons, right? Like when they're going to tribal every single night. When do you have the time to practice making fire? And the thing is, you've got your fire making people, 1 or 2 people, and they are fast and the speed matters. So yeah, I find that argument really frustrating. Now it's a bit different for maybe someone like Sari who's played like 5 times.
Hey, no Sari slander in my apartment, in my actual house. I will throw you out.
Amazing, but
you'll not play Grand Archive with Peter.
You'll be out. That after playing,
she made that fire.
Especially considering she has lost at fire.
She made that fire. Okay, it burned through the rope. So don't start with me. You will get kicked out of the apartment that you are allergic to anyway with the cats, but you're so welcome in our home. But
yeah, Soph is in, I think, a amazing spot.
Especially because she didn't tell them about knowledge is power. I think people keep getting concerned that
the knowledge is power. You should not. And I know I'm biased. Like I'm a hypocrite because I told AJ about the knowledge is power, but you should not be telling people about the knowledge.
Well, you shouldn't tell your number 1 ally with an idol. It's like just in case that might be the idol I need to steal. That might be the only one available to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
You should only be telling someone if you're then literally planning to use it in a move that needs them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, otherwise...
I love that she's kept her options open, because the fact that she hasn't told them shows that she's not necessarily just looking to, like, take out a Hina with it for the group.
Yeah, and it makes... Because also, people don't always respect sitting behind a shield, right? Like, sometimes you get to the end and you've sat behind the big player and the jury will vote for the person who is the underdog over you, even though you've probably played a better game and that you've been safer, you've been more in control, but because you've used the shield, they don't respect your game as much. If she does that, it makes it much more deliberate as opposed to passive. Like, no, I kept him in the game because he was essentially a free idol for me later on.
100%. Like all the things people say, like, well, at least we know where the idol is. It's like, yes, with your enemy who you can't take out of the game. I really want
this to happen.
Yeah, but Soph is the one person who's like, actually, you know how you like, I actually did need to keep the idol in the game. It was my idol.
Genuinely, if that happened, I think this would go up to a good season.
That would be all time. Yeah.
That would be,
and that thing that we've just created,
that would be a genuinely all-time move. Yeah. This hypothetical
that's a great season.
Fantasy plurality vote land.
And then maybe there's like a tie at final tribal council. Like we're making things up. I'm sure. Should we do the chizzy?
Yes, I would love to.
Take it away, Myles.
Chizzy,
3,
chizzy.
2.
Oh shit. Chizzy. It's getting time, chizzy.
Kind of chizzy.
Is it that?
You return your mug.
I don't know the lyrics specifically.
Very upsetting. Okay, I'll give my points. You said you hadn't thought about it, and again, return your mug.
Yeah.
Because it's our first recap, which is crazy to think about. Because we podcasted a lot.
Yeah, we have.
We did like the deep dive for 6 hours. We did
the Luke podcast before Australia versus
which
World.
Also could have been in person. We just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
So I feel so this is your first chizzy points that you're giving out. I'm gonna give 3 points to Rizzo. It speaks for itself. Yeah. Even on just keeping the idol alone, let alone like what he did with Juwan, which I actually think is legitimate. I'm gonna give 2 points to Sophie. Yellow Sophie. This is important because there's gonna be a lot of Sophie in my chizzy points.
Yeah.
I like that she has, I think, really flipped to the minority. I think that she has like leapfrogged Sage and Juwan in their estimation.
There's something to be said about that recognition as well. I think, again, it's really easy from the outside to see it, but we see it all the time. A lot of players don't recognize when they're on the bottom of an alliance. And they just kind of coast through. And there's something to be said for being able to recognize like, oh shit, they don't care about me.
Yeah, and I think as well, the other thing is like in such a conservative season, like she's flipping to an apparent minority.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think the post-merge has been conservative.
Hina are conservative.
Hina are conservative.
Okay, fine. So Hina, but she's a Hina. So like, I think that any time that someone will like flip Like they talked about this with Sage and Jawan for the one vote that they actually flipped to Hina. It's like, well, what if they're on the bottom? It's like, well, they're definitely on the bottom of the other group. Like the best that they can do is go to another group and hope it's better. And like that's true of Sophie. Like firstly, I mean, flipping to a 4 is good.
Yeah.
But also, yes, they're an apparent minority. Like they should lose. She could be
it's a 4.
Fine. It's a 4. But like I think that she's certainly not with Hina. She's voted against Hina. So at least in this vote, that's what she's done. I think that she's with Uli. I think it could be a great 4. And even if they were meant to look at like the minority now, again, I'd rather risk that than be on the bottom of this Hina group that's doing nothing for her. And the other part of that as well is that what am I saying? I think it's a better group for her. What am I saying? The one bad thing was that she was too open about her spot, but it still worked. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Now the allergies are playing up. It's all going downhill. No, I was going to say that. What am I saying? It's a better group for her.
Yeah, there's more shields.
Oh, but the issue is, this is what I was going to say. My brain has started working again. Thank you. I blame the baby.
Jury.
No, actually the toughest thing about it is like she could just get straight shot here.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. Like the fact that she's doing well enough that Hina somehow are including her as a crucial vote on the split vote.
Yeah.
When actually what it should be is like, I actually want to play with Uli. It is a minority for me, but I'll take that risk. But the risk is, what if like Hina just come for me? And that not only do they not, but they like vote
for her as well. There's another physical threat in Savannah. You've got Rizzo who's got this big.
But the thing is, even with Savannah immune, Rizzo apparently untouchable, when Hina should come for her, and that should be the biggest risk to playing with a group she actually wants to play with.
Yeah.
That should be her biggest risk in going to this group, that they A, lose, which they don't, and B, that they lose because she's the target.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even happen. The fact that they're relying on her as a crucial split vote is, I think, super impressive and absurd. Okay, fine. My brain is back, which is wonderful. I'm just like not used to my notes being like actually highlighted and in person. Also, I'm like, now your allergies are coming out. I also realized I'm pretty sure I changed when we had a break. I now like the screen is smaller. But I think we're doing well. Hopefully this is all recording. Yeah. I will give 1 vote to Soph because I think that both she and Savannah protected here.
Yeah.
And made it incorrectly, I think, for Sage and Jawan a less appealing vote. Savannah protected physically, Soph protected because they don't want to vote for her. That to me is more impressive than an immunity win. And then I also have my concerns about the fact that Savannah was again called a mean girl. I want to give Savannah points when she's not being called a mean girl. And I did give her points last week, and I'm pretty sure she was still called a mean girl. And I think some of this is like concerningly valid from a social game perspective, because even though the secret scene with Sage was last week, I watched it this week. I'm a little bit concerned about it. Yeah. So I'm giving that point to Soph. But yeah, I mean, this group of 4 that I think they will be, they only really need to worry about each other in ways that are impressive. They have so many trinkets. They're so likely to win immunity. They just got it on lock. So those are my points.
I'm going to give 3 points to someone who pulled off a big move to this week, and also had a really good episode, got a good feed. Jawan, 3 points.
Poor Jawan. He's my rooting interest.
No, I'm not. I'm not giving him 3 points to Jawan.
Yes, I got that from the entire podcast.
I'd give Jawan negative points.
No, we don't do negative points.
Jawan and Sage get negative points for an absolutely bizarre episode.
Yes, it was bizarre. I'm gonna look at the charts. Actually,
3 points to Rizzo. 3 points to Rizzo. He just is playing incredibly. Genuinely, if he goes on to win this, I think it'll have a very strong argument for the best New Era game.
Do you know what would be better though?
What?
When Soph takes his idol.
To be fair,
that'd be amazing.
In that scenario, I think Soph has a very strong game for not
that'd be
best
incredible.
New Era game. I think she's probably up there for the best all-time game.
She'd have Marianne's late game incredible move. She'd have Kenzie's
early game strength,
early game issues. We cobble together all of the best parts of every New Era winner.
I'll go for 2 points. I'll go Soph, and the only reason why I'm not going Sophie is because I don't really see a clear winning end game for Sophie. I think short term she's made the correct move. But I think she's just in a rough spot in that I don't think she's got a huge amount of win equity. She's kind of joined the team of the people who all have big threat levels and have really strong games, right?
That is a good point.
But I also I'll give 1 point to Sophie because I don't think there's any other option. I think that's the correct move.
Yeah.
But I'll give 2 points to Soph because I just think Soph is in a great spot here. Like, I think no one's really looking at her, but she has a great game. She's got a great story. She's got the knowledge is power. Like, the 3 points has to go to Rizzo, but I think Soph had a 3-point worthy episode as well. Yeah, and just Sophie, I am going Sophie over Savannah for the same reason, where there are just concerns for me about Savannah's social game and where she's at. But she had a pretty good episode otherwise. She won a challenge, she was safe. Yeah.
You gotta credit Soph that like every time someone gives her information, she just does not tell them about knowledge is power.
Yeah.
It's like, I have an extra vote. That's great. I was a news anchor. Okay.
And everyone's giving her so much information.
Yeah, I have this. Like and she's just
everyone's talking to
and
her.
that alliance has been really good about being like, we're a group and we share everything, and she's like, but not me.
Yeah.
I do think that's really good. I think for Sophie, you make a good point. She is going to a group of people, if they, again, she flipped to a technical minority, but they've solved that issue. But if they make it, there's a lot of really tough people to beat. But as you said, there's no real other option. It's also kind of, that's more like of an issue in the past. Like, this episode is good. Like, in the past, like, she also wasn't going to beat Hina. Like, people didn't like her. Hina on the jury aren't going to like her regardless of if she flips. So she's got more
active, like, and it's good because it gives her more of actual gameplay to kind of attest to. Like, what is her...
That is true. And also, here? Like, I mean, I don't think that they might see it in themselves, but if she stands up there and they're like, why did you flip? She'd be like, all that stuff you did?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, what's her path? I think her path is...
Who can she beat at the end?
Her path is winning, and then, like...
I think she beats Christina at the end.
As in, like, her path is, like, winning this battle with Uli. And then going with... Yeah, and then, like, taking out the allergies. I'm so sorry. This is amazing what you've done here, coming to my apartment. And in an allergic environment. And we took so long to set up. Yeah, her path, I think, if people hate Savannah that much... If she can really like make some moves happen, if she can be the one to get credit for eventually taking out the Rizzos and the Sophs, maybe with fire, maybe whenever, you know what I mean? Like,
I'd be really interested to know what
it's a tough path.
Jawan and Sage. I think Jawan, like, my instinct is that
it might be worse
now. As more strategic, but Jawan.
Actually, Alex said Jawan was seen as more strategic. In his ex interview, he said he would always go to Jawan, and it felt like Sage was just kind of chilling.
Okay, well, potentially Sage would be someone that she could beat, especially because we know Savannah doesn't really like Sage. And Jawan seems like a hard one just because he's so likable as well.
I think that maybe, again, like, I think that if she can get credit for being like eventually Rizzo's going to become that guy where like anyone who takes him out, Jessie style, is going to be get a lot especially in the right final three, is going to get a lot of credit.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of it. It's about winning this war with Uli and then having 7, 6, 5, and fire.
Yeah.
To take out a big threat, like at least Rizzo, maybe more. Yeah. That's the path.
Yeah, I say that. Yeah, it's
and being in a good final three.
The problem is with like the Jessie situation, Gabler then sat next to essentially 2 other guys because he's
exactly. You have to be in a good final three.
Like, I don't know,
Sage and maybe Savannah, maybe Christina.
Yeah, but a lot of people there have still played pretty active games in a way that I feel like the
if Steven is destroyed, but he just
I assume one of Steven or Christina will probably go home next. Is my assumption.
Yeah,
here. And so at best you've got one of them. You've got one like. Yeah, but we know Sophie likes Steven more than she likes Christina.
I mean, she's not a fan of either at the moment.
And Steven has a relationship with Jawan and Sage as well that potentially will keep him safe if they because there's a potential here that the Ulis try and get Jawan and Sage to stay with them for the next vote just to keep some semblance of of them all working together. And in that case, Steven probably is safe and Christina is the target there. And so it's probably one of them, and then she's got to find someone else that she can beat. And I feel like all of the Ulis have played pretty active, pitchable games.
Yeah, if they hate Savannah enough.
Yeah.
Or if Sage and Jawan, and she has the credit from a Rizzo perspective, I think there's something. I won't say a lot. I will say it has to be a credit to Sophie that that the split is even conceived of, and that they do this at all. As we're saying, we have made the case for Sophie's chizzy points through this podcast. Yeah. How much Sage and Jawan think they might be relying on Sophie when I don't think they're reading that well. I mean, I don't know if it's a credit to her because she openly is like, I hate those guys.
Yeah.
However, like the Hina people. However, there's a lot of like load-bearing strategy then on how much they need her and will be relying on her going forward.
Yeah. Well, I think
how much they did in the split for Hina and how much they how much Sage and Jawan are going forward.
What I think she's lacking though a little bit is narrative. Like I think someone
like, for sure.
I think Savannah, for example, while she's not as well liked, has a way more pitchable narrative than Sophie does.
But Sophie's game is just beginning. I mean, she's turned on her group now, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll have to see where that goes. But yeah, so she'll get
it's a hard road. But yeah, I think she's doing a lot in this episode. She was doing a lot for the fact that they would split in this episode, and she was doing a lot for the fact that Sage and Jawan would do this at all going forward with the thought of a majority, which has to be her.
Yeah. Savannah's playing a very fun game and is like an exciting character and whatnot, but I don't know that it's quite as good of a game as some of the others that we're talking about here, like especially the others in the Uli 4.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm looking at the Chili charts now that I have from the Survivor Fact Checker.
Like, I feel like Jawan still has some, even though he really messed up here, there's still some pretty good paths for Jawan forward because I feel like Sage will get targeted before him, is my instinct.
Well, not based on what Alex said.
Well, because the targets don't necessarily happen on threat level, right? Like if Savannah is, because I feel like Savannah is one of the most vocal in that Uli side of things. And if she's driving the vote, she's going to drive it on Sage before she drives it on Jawan, I feel like. Especially if Rizzo has a good relationship with Jawan. I feel like Sage is the one who's...
Although we have seen Sage is closer to like a Steven, so it kind of depends. I mean, I guess that would be coming from Uli.
Yeah. Like we're seeing Jawan clearly has something with Rizzo. Right? And potentially goes the other way where Rizzo, when he's deciding out of Sage versus Jawan, he goes, okay, we're going to take out Sage. And then once that duo is broken up, there's a path for him forward. But I don't know that Sage has that, to be honest. I think Jawan's probably got a little bit, I mean, they're both not super socially subtle, but I think Jawan's probably got a bit more going on with him with his social game than Sage does to kind of scoot through.
I think the issues for me, like Sage seemed like she was more a pioneer in Jawan and Sage flipping to Hina. Obviously, she was one who was actually there in that swap and doing that against Shannon. And I think that Jawan, now my cat is here to just close your whole throat up. But I think that Jawan has felt like he is leading more of the Hina dissolution. So that makes him feel more active. And it's certainly something Hina won't love at a final tribal council.
And I also think I'm putting probably more deliberateness on Jawan than there actually is there. Like, I think Jawan's played an all right game so far, but I don't know how deliberate it all is. I think, like, I'm putting on him actively navigating his way through. And especially, I don't see Jawan being able to pitch his game well at Final 3. He doesn't strike me as someone who's got...
Also, these like indefensible decisions.
Well, he just doesn't strike me as someone that has... I think one of the biggest things for like a jury pitch at the end is self-awareness, right? Awareness of how you're perceived. And he doesn't strike me as someone that really has a lot of that, to be honest.
I do think he did have to be like dragged across the line when he was like so clearly on the bottom of Uli, and that's not a great indication. I think with Jawan, he will be the one seen as the person who enabled Rizzo, and that's just not going to look good.
Yeah, that too.
That is not going to look good when it feels like he's had that open communication with Rizzo in a way that Sage hasn't.
Yeah.
And I think that if anyone's blaming anyone for even Rizzo just getting through these 2 votes and who knows what else in the future, that'll look like Jawan, and that will look really bad. Yeah. And I think that will fall at his feet, even though I would say like there are more people to blame, but like really is a lot of Jawan. It feels so. I'm doing it. So like I think they would do the same. Just looking at the charts, Sophie now is on 20 points, so she's leading. Sage on 12. Rizzo's now gone up to 14. Alex left on 11 actually. Steven's on 11. Savannah on 9 and not getting any from us. So that's an interesting thing. I think as
that's
well.
all pretty fair.
And Sophie now goes up to about 5. So yeah, I mean, Blue Soph is in the lead by far. Steven is on 11.
I think all of that is pretty fair.
I think Savannah's lower than you think.
But the thing is, I don't think Savannah's played that great of a game so far. I don't know what you'd be really giving. Obviously, she controlled the swap tribe, right? And she had a lot of control in that early tribe. But like, she hasn't really done that much, especially because the Chizzy points, we had this on our season where I was getting 3-0, 3-0, 3-0. Like, the Chizzy points, they benefit people who have really good standout moments. And she's had periods that have been decent, and then she's had a really bad vote with being the merge vote. And then again, like 2 more votes that have been.
We're waiting
decent.
for her big
The thing
the
is,
Rizzo type
Rizzo
episodes.
is having those big attention grabbing moments that Savannah's not,
and he's getting
then
6 points,
Sophie's just beating her on content. You've got other guys who played a lot more in the pre-merge who like did a lot more actively. Like Sage, as much as she's obviously blown up a game in the last 2 episodes,
was getting a lot of points for the Shannon battle.
Rightfully was getting a lot of votes all throughout the in that late pre-merge. And even
through the second
merge,
swap. 100%.
Yeah, and like Steven was controlling the yellow, so he's going to get all of the vote.
And he got a lot for also in the merge and getting over Sage and Jawan, and like when he actually had that win, he got.
So I think all of that makes sense, because really Savannah's game was decent in a cruisy way that's not really going to get a huge amount of cheesy points, and then has also bad, pitfalls, and then is now recovering, but still isn't quite there yet.
I agree. Well, should we end the podcast before your throat closes completely, or should we? Do you have anything you want to plug?
Not really. I'm not doing a huge. I'm on Instagram and on Twitter. If you want to find me, I'm on Instagram at Myles Kuah, and I'm on Twitter at Myles M Kuah. If you want Survivor thoughts, Twitter is the place to go.
I think you're on Blue Sky too, which is very rare for an Australian Survivor player.
Yeah, but I don't use it. I literally, actually, let me tell you why I'm on Blue Sky, because there's one guy on Blue Sky who does Survivor stats, and he does really amazing Survivor.
Dan.
Yes.
Dan O'Hem,
and I love his Survivor.
They're so good,
stats.
And they look good.
Yeah, amazing Survivor, and he is the only reason why I'm on Blue Sky. But if you follow me on Twitter, if you want my Survivor thoughts, I do tweet a lot of Survivor thoughts on there. So that's where you can find me.
Great. Well, you can follow me at Shannon Gates next week. I think I'm doing the B&B. I think that's what's happening. Gussing around. If you want people in this format with less allergies and a lot less Survivor talk, but
still
more,
a little bit of Survivor
some
talk.
Survivor talk, like
some Grand Archive talk.
Yeah, sometimes Myles gets mentioned. Myles gets mentioned about how he knew the gender of our child before most people, because Peter just told him by accident.
Because I'm too good. I'm pulling that information out.
Actually, cut to that scene, and Myles was just like, "Oh, okay. Did you just say she?" And Peter was like, "Damn it, so good." So what did we talk about this week? We talked about we talked a lot about the media we want our child to love and will force her to love. Peter's a lot more lax. Like, she can like what she likes, and I'm like, no, she'll like what I like because my taste is perfect. So we talked about just, following the journey that is Gussing around. But yeah, at Shannon Gates for all of that. Survivor Global every week. I'll be talking about Wicked on the Tastemakers podcast as well, which I'm seeing this weekend. And that's it. All right. The podcast is going to end now magically. It's going to magically end. Thank you all so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.